I'll take you to a little bit of invisible path which I've followed in last 20 years almost, and something which I myself am still confused about where I am going. So I've called it today's presentation, Tracing the Invisible, and I'll take you through a few places where I've been and where I come from. I come from this very, can you please switch off this light? I come from this small village called Drava in Saurashtra of Gujarat. It has all the things which normally Indian villages have, like its colors, its welcoming doorways, its beautiful architecture and green fields, whatever we normally think Indian village should have or is known for. Somewhere in your, when you think in retrospective, where you are today, like talking in a TED conference, I somehow feel, do I fit here or not? Because you come from somewhere where things are very, very different. You have this relaxed old man, old dada sitting in a village, the green fields, you have this intense personalities of my uncles and the kind of people who come from the family. And so this is where one part of my life, the early years or early childhood went through. I grew up, like many of us, in a city where your parents had moved to a small town nearby Drapa for better prosperous future or whatever. I was English educated, whatever you can call it. I think the slide is fine. I mean, these are just images. I come from Porbandar, which is known for Gandhi. It's beautiful seashores, its Arabian Sea, its mafias, its stone mines, ghee. I mean, these are the things which you normally grow up with. When you are in Porbandar, you only hear all these things. It has some beautiful architecture. I'm just trying to figure out what is happening here. It's okay, it doesn't matter. So when you come from a place like this, you start questioning things in your life early enough. What is it that I am going to use as a profession? What is it the calling? What is my future? Whatever. So having grown up in a place like that, there was always and looking at all the heritage which you come from, which is in disarray, complete disarray, like in most parts of India, you try and figure out what is my calling. Early years in Porbandar, I learned to look at the architecture which was around us, which was more like looking at the stone architecture, the stone mines, the beautiful palaces that the sea around is right in front of our house, the great house of Mahatma Gandhi and the great philosophy which you have heard, read everywhere. Gandhi is world known, world renowned. Being a small town and a Maharaja having built the town very beautifully, one of the best town planning examples in modern Indian architecture, you can say, last 100 years. It has some of the best temples, palaces around, and you almost want to see what will I do now? What is the kind of building you want to build today? And so this was my early experiences, which somehow was always bringing me to look for things which have some meaning in life, which is something which you want to do something better than what people have done, but you cannot even attempt to do that, and somewhere you feel, how am I going to use my profession to make this world better? I had not known about Auroville till almost I was in college, when I read about Sri Aurobindo's Foundations of Indian Culture, which was a great discovery of India kind of thing. When you read, it's almost like you get goosebumps on every sentence and every page and you think, oh my god, what am I going to do? And this is how slowly, by the time we were in university, we were kind of finishing university, I discovered Auroville. And having discovered such a place, I always wanted to go there, I wanted to go and see what it is like, what happens there. It's an international community, you are a young engineer who has just got himself a degree and you are supposed to earn in a family and support and all this kind of normal Indian or normal expectations we go through. I actually didn't have any dream, nor do I have now. As we were just talking about this few presentations here, it's almost like you feel that, where am I going? Do I fit here? So I was just telling, it's more like a char in an Italian platter where you don't fit in, but if somebody tastes it, it's like really spicy, some may like it, some may not. So it is almost like that. The image what you see here is of the boat builders of the Porbandar where I come from, right nearby, where these 500-ton boats are built without even a single drawing. So I never even liked doing a drawing when I do a building. It's almost like you didn't want to do it, but still that calling is for that. When I first came to Auroville in 1992, like most of us who have been to Auroville, it was almost like finally we had discovered a place which we like, we think would give us that creative freedom, which we can explore our profession, which has this fantastic word, like it belongs to humanity as a whole. It's like unending education. It's a place for unending education. I mean, these are the words of Auroville Charter, which actually the first time when I read, suddenly it was like, okay, this is my place. Taking advantage of the discoveries from within and without, and youth that never ages, sight of material and spiritual researches. So all that you see, somehow these things have shaped our work, what we do today. It might be my work in my office. I have a very small office. Work ranges from very, very small projects like 30,000, 40,000 houses which we work with, rehabilitation process in Bihar, or some multi-million dollar, whatever, rupees houses for rich people in Hyderabad. But somewhere the link is always the kind of philosophy we work with, the kind of materials we work with, and we try to explore the basic Indian tradition of building, what we have like lime plasters or earth or oxide floors and all these things, which are actually you don't see in the mainstream Indian architecture today as commonly as it was seen like say 50 years ago, before the advent of the cement and the concrete and all, before we kind of almost became like any building we think today, we hardly think that what is the material we want to build with. We just build and we just see. Yesterday also for this OMR we saw like huge buildings coming up and precasting and all that. No? It's totally industrialized. So our practice has been, though it is very small practice, we have been doing very intense work to create a space for building artisans in the contemporary Indian architecture. Not really like celebration of a village. Our buildings don't look like village buildings. They do have all the elements of a village building like earth, terracotta, simple floors, very airy, light kind of things. But we try to develop a language which is Indian and it still has an international appeal, or it has an element of study, research, etc. If you look at our Auroville experience, somehow Auroville has given us that freedom of doing different things at the same time. I have got involved in the Indian Pavilion or the cultural events and everything which we organize, which gave us the chance to run an art gallery. We run a project with gift economy since last 6 years. We run a cafe called Indus Valley, which some of you might have come through Auroville. I keep on dabbling around in different parts of roles of my life almost every day. Slowly, as you discover Auroville, you constantly feel and you try to reconnect with where you come from, and you try to reconnect the dots where you come from in your past. And some of us sometimes realize, oh, this is not where I want to go, maybe this is where I want to go. And I have spent the last 20 years in Auroville now, and it's almost like you are at a crossroads where you see what is way forward or is way backward. And strangely enough, we are finding that the kind of interest what we have, the kind of work we want to do has a lot of resonance with our past, the kind of work we've been doing, work I've seen happening around me in my childhood or when I was growing up. If you look at the Indian architecture scenario today, what we call like green architecture or the word sustainability, and all these words are having hijacked by different vocabulary of design. So it's very, very difficult for you to understand like what you are doing is green or sustainable, or so it's a constant debate which is going on. For example, one of the simple debate which is going on right now is that Mr. Mukesh Ambani's house is the greenest building in India today. It's a $1 billion house in Bombay. Maybe 5 people live there. Maybe some 300 workers there. Their electricity bills are about 8 lakhs a month, and we call it a green building. What you just saw was the slide from Nalanda in Bihar, where in one of our projects which we work with is we are part of a network called owner-driven rehabilitation, where we actually do not design, we only facilitate the processes of development after disasters. And it's a network of several NGOs, government, non-government agencies, where we work post-disasters. So from tsunami to earthquake to floods in Bihar, we've been quite active in that network. And that gives us some kind of an outlet where we kind of amalgamate the whole experience of Auroville, which has a spiritual dimension to it, the research and study dimension to it, and creative dimension to it, with the urge to say, okay, be part of the country's development, be part of improving the life around you, be part of the societies, the change which is being called in societies, etc. And for us, it has been extremely learning experience, because most of our work which we derived so far in last 20 years, it's mostly influenced by so many people around whom we have met, from designers like Darshan Patel to Laurie Baker to even calligrapher called R.K. Joshi, or many other people, Ray Baker in Pondicherry. There are so many people who have influenced our work in so many different ways that it's almost like you are educating yourself every day. With every passing day, you are learning something. And I think that credit goes 100% to Auroville, because it has somehow achieved that in a very micro way. It has achieved a kind of you can say critical atmosphere, it's a great learning atmosphere if you want to learn. And like any Indian village or any small town, if you are ready to receive, there is so much which a small place like that can give. And this is what our experience was in Bihar, when we saw this beautiful craftsmanship all around us with earth, bamboo and all, and we learned everything, and we facilitated, like there is a process where almost 30,000 houses are being built. When you go to the artistic side of it, I have been a calligrapher at heart much before I understood what there must be something more than good handwriting. And this is where I discovered Professor R.K. Joshi's work in IIT Bombay, who used to do road shows 50 years ago in Bombay. He would just go to a road and just start writing with a brush and tell people, look at your own script. Your script in India is so beautiful. Why are you going away from it? Why people are not writing anymore? And I don't know how many of us actually write a letter today, and we have actually reached a stage where writing has almost become obsolete. And this is another thing which has prompted me to be very active in the field of calligraphy, where we are working with different calligraphers from all over the world and in India, and inspired by Professor Joshi's philosophy of the spiritual dimension of the letters, the abstract art of the letter forms. And because India as a country has like 15 official languages, we have like 18 different scripts, we have 300 dialects, and still today we don't write. So it is something which is very disturbing when you see constantly, and fortunately in the world of art it is coming back slowly, very, very slowly. The art of writing is coming back. So I started a project called Letter Divine, And in that one, we are trying to get like international artists who are very well-known world calligraphers to come and work with us and try and see that, okay, in the next 5 years, can we have a great exhibition where Indian artists, Indian calligraphers start recognizing that no, our letter forms are very spiritual, our letter forms have a dimension of spirituality and depth behind it. After almost like 20 years now, suddenly another urge has started that what if one of our part of our office is working in a village. So recently we have started a small place and I couldn't find any better place than my own village. So I was looking for building a small studio there, and I discovered this one building which my great grandfather had built, which was used for horse stables, and this was the halat of that building, and it was not used for almost for 40 years. And I decided to take up a challenge and convert it into a design studio where all my office staff can go and work one by one. So we have a 6 weeks batch. Every 6 weeks we go there and we do normal architecture work for village and for us. And fortunately in Gujarat we have great connectivity and all that, no power cuts and all. So it's very nice to change for 6 weeks to go and work in a place where you don't need to worry about the infrastructure. And the place, the first batch we had last 2 months ago, and it's also an experiment that urban youth, how they are actually working with the rural youth and interacting, their friends, the whole thing through Facebook, they're all connected, they're going all around the village and they're going to village marriage parties and eating and all kind of stuff. And at the same time they're working 8 to 10 hours a day, researching, documenting the projects and everything. And this reminds me of one small story. I'll end my presentation with that about 17 years ago, me and a friend of mine were both traveling on a bike through India, and we met a small boy who asked us, "Why are you traveling?" And both of us were like extremely confused because we didn't know why we're traveling. So Fabian, who is a friend of mine, German, he said, we are looking at India. And he said, then why travel? Just go to any village, you will see India. And that I still have not forgotten. So we are trying to go back to the village to just understand India, what it is. Thank you.